The Walther CCP, let's check it out. The Walther CCP, or concealed carry pistol. This has been a long-awaited pistol. In fact, it was supposed to be introduced and there were some delays, and so it was really great to get this thing out on the market. I have really been wanting to try one of these out for a while. And it is a single stack polymer frame with a stainless steel slide. Of course, the first thing we're going to do is to go ahead and drop the magazine. It's 8-in-1. Check the chamber, and the gun is unloaded. This is a really unique design pistol. There's some things about this that are pretty unique to the standard modern firearms that we're seeing. One of the big things about this is it has what it calls the soft coil, and that has to do with the recoil system. And we're going to look a little bit more at that when we disassemble it. But there is a gas piston in here that eliminates a lot of the felt recoil, eliminates the muzzle rise up to 33%. So it makes it really great to be able to get your second and third shots. But one of the big things about this pistol, and I think one of the most practical things, is that for those who have weak hands, especially ladies or the elderly, sometimes they can't pull the slide back. Because of the way this recoil system is set up, the recoil spring is a really lightweight spring. So it makes it really easy to bring that slide back. And to me, that is one of the biggest selling points of this pistol. Now, of course, with the reduced recoil, that's also very important. But if you can't even get the slide back to charge around, you know, then you're not going to be able to pull the trigger anyway. So I think this is a really viable option for those that, you know, have possibly weak hands, ladies, you know, female shooters. And so, but we're going to look at all the other details, and then we're going to get into that in a little bit.
What about that?
That was better.
That was nice.
The ergonomics, the way this grip fits, it naturally molds to the hand. I mean, it feels like an extension of the hand. And, you know, it was one of the things with the P22 that I really loved. The Walther PPQ, again, P99. Walther has it down on their grips. To me, the most ergonomic grips on the market. And it's the way I felt about the PPQ as well. I mean, just a super ergonomic pistol. It just fits in the hand just extremely well. But one of the things about it is that really is superior with the CCP is that the grip texturing is a little more aggressive on the CCP. Even though it's the same style, you know, little squigglies like the PPQ, this has a little more aggressiveness. And as you can see, I have one of the Talon grips on this because you know, really sweaty conditions, or you know, high perspiration, or you get wet or blood or whatever, this grip is a little bit slippery. And so the Talon grips really made this pistol complete to me. I would probably not do that for this pistol because it just feels so good. And so, you know, really it's almost like a shrunk down PPQ. But as far as that goes, that's the only similarity. But really, there are a lot of differences with the CCP. It comes in the stainless version, but it also comes in a black Cerakote finish as well. I opted for the stainless. I really like the two-tone effect. And, you know, the serrations are aggressive, which they don't really have to be super aggressive because of the ease of pulling the slide back. But then you have serrations on the front of the slide, which makes it really nice. We have CCP right here on the pistol. Of course, Walther Firearms. It does have one of the 1913 Picatinny rails, so this is going to allow you to put lasers and lights. Now, it is a single stack magazine. Really like the fact that the magazines hold 8 rounds. It gives you 9 rounds total with 1 in the chamber. Not quite the 6 rounds of a lot of the current single stack magazines. And these magazines are pretty sturdy. I really like Walther mags. The stainless steel, very nice. Loads very easy. If you'll notice, there are some strength points here on the frame inside the magazine well that are beveled, so it really allows for the magazine to really just ride up in there. So another thing about the mag release is that you can switch it from the right side to the left for ambidextrous shooters, and it doesn't have the paddles on the trigger guard, which a lot of people like it, don't like it. I like either one. Just train with whatever you're going to use. The slide release is really nice. It's not obtrusive though. It's very small, similar to the Glock, but it does come out just a little bit. One of the things that I personally am not a huge fan of, and a lot of people aren't as well, is a safety on the frame. And if you're going to do that, you know, if you're used to standard polymer pistols, and it's kind of funny because, you know, with the PPQ it doesn't have it, or with the Glocks and a lot of other pistols. But with the CCP, they chose to put a frame safety on here. This is a concealed carry piece, and a lot of people that are going to carry are maybe novices with firearms and need to have somewhat of a safety. But that is what it is. It's going to have this safety. It's really easy to manipulate. Now, one big problem about that is a lot of people will carry this with the safety down and just say, well, I'm going to carry it that way. But you need to train with the safety in the up position, because if you pick up the pistol and you're trying to fire it with the safety engaged, there's nothing there. So you just, and this is really easy to knock. As you can see, it's just real easy. Slips back and forth. The trigger guard is somewhat squared off. It gives you an area to put your finger right here. There is a larger hole right here for gloved hands. So it gives you a lot of room. Having a concealed carry piece, especially in the wintertime, that could be a definite situation with gloves. The barrel is just over 3.5 inches at 3.54 inches. The width of the slide is 1.18 inches, which it is narrow and it's nice. Now, compared to the PPS, though, the PPS is really thin. In fact, it's one of the thinnest handguns on the market in 9mm. It is a super thin, very nice gun. In fact, I did a review on this recently. I was shocked at how much I like this. I mean, I really was surprised. Very accurate, just an exceptional handgun, very flat to the body, and one that I really like to carry. But it is limited to 6 rounds unless you get the extended base plate to hold the 8 rounds. And if you do, it really gets it down there. I mean, it gets it long. So while the PPS is much thinner than the CCP, with the 8 rounds, it's actually longer. But the one great thing about the CCP that I find very appealing is the recoil system, because it's going to be just a great gun to get back on target. You take your shot, you can take your follow-up shots very quickly. And that could be really important in a life and death situation. Speaking of which, the sights, 3-dot sights, they are adjustable, they are polymer. The front sight, though, which is really unique, has 2 interchangeable blades that you can put on here. And they come with the firearm. So if you're shooting a little bit high or a little bit low, you can change out the front sight. For me, this gun was dead on. Seven yards with HPR 9mm 115 grain full metal jacket. Just a nice jagged hole, just focusing on that front sight. Sights are super easy to pick up, and these are easy to see targets, just excellent targets. Now the trigger pull is purported from Walther to be 5.5 pounds. We're going to double check the gun to make sure it's loaded and remove the magazine. The trigger itself, I would say that it is 5.5 pounds, and I would say that because I have my Lyman trigger gauge here and I've checked it. And it does come around the 5.5 pound mark. 5 pounds, 0.85 ounces. So that's right at 5.5 pounds. And really, it stayed in that area. So it's a fairly consistent trigger pull. Now, one of the things, though, that I do want to mention is that this trigger pull is, in fact, when I first got the gun, the trigger pull was atrocious. I'm just going to be straight up with you. One of the things you'll notice, and I'm going to let you see it, it is a nice wide trigger, which I really like that in itself. But when you're pulling it, it has a lot going on in there. You can even hear it. And I'm going to do that again because I want you to see it. It's a little bit bindy Now, it is a lot smoother than it was. I've shot about 200 rounds through this pistol, and it's smoothed out considerably, and it will continue to smooth out, and I've heard other reports that it smooths out. I think they may be able to be smoothed out somewhat, but it just is the nature of the way this gun is. Now, reset. Reset here is pretty much, there it is. And it comes just about a 1/16 of an inch after that. There's not any reset. But the one thing I do want to report about as far as range report, which I really anticipated feeling this trigger and really having a hard time getting accuracy, is that you don't notice the trigger when you're shooting it. I don't know what it is. It's just, it just shoots very well. It shoots very consistently. And so while the trigger at first is rough, and then it'll work out and smooth itself, and it seems like, you know, a real tough trigger to pull, it's really very doable. A lot of people have complained about the trigger, but honestly, I think once you take it out and you shoot it, you're going to find that it does not affect the functionality and the accuracy of this pistol as much as people are some people are saying. And you know, I can sit here at the table and I can pull this trigger and go, wow, that's a bad trigger. Get out to the range and have a whole completely different feel for it. And I think you're going to find that as well. I'll tell you guys, once you start shooting it, you don't even realize it. Maybe that first shot when you first take it, but the trigger just seems to blend in just fine. It didn't affect the accuracy of the pistol at all. And with the ergonomics and with the recoil system, it just felt like that there was hardly any recoil to this pistol. The weight of the CCP with the magazine in it, 22.3 ounces, which is 1 pound, 6.3 ounces. The slide is just under 6.5 inches at 6.4 inches. The height is just over 5 inches at 5.12 inches. And again, the thinness of the slide here is 1.18 inches. All right, we have a Glock 43 right here, and I want to do some comparison between the two because this is the rage right now, and just a super small single stack 9mm. Now, at first, by just looking at this, you would think that the CCP has a longer slide. But if you take the little small beaver tail and put it at the rear of the frame, these are almost identical with the CCP coming out just a touch. Here with the two guns laid on top of each other, the CCP definitely comes down a little bit more in the grip, even with the extension here on the magazine. So you're going to get about an inch greater grip right here. But the ergonomics on the CCP are just exceptional. And you know, you're going to lose a little bit of that just because of the thinness here. But the ergonomics on the 43 are nice. But on the CCP, it is far superior. The bore axis on the CCP is a little higher. As far as width of the slide, you can see right here, it just a touch over. To me, it belies its width, and it does come down narrowly where the Glock is more squared off. The Walther also has an accessory rail, which the Glock doesn't, and this would make this even a better home defense roll, I think, than your Glock 43. As far as price goes, the Glock 43s are running between $450, $475 range, something like that, according to where you live and where you shop. The Walther CCP, I saw it at Impact Guns for $369. So you're looking at almost $100 difference between the two. To disassemble the CCP, it requires a small tool, mainly because it is a delay blowback design with a fixed barrel. So there's no disassembly levers right here. It all has to be done back here from the rear. You can use a small screwdriver, but of course Walther does provide the small tool. First thing we'll do is make sure the gun isn't loaded. We have to disengage the striker, so go ahead and pull the trigger. Take your small tool, and right here there's a little lip, and it corresponds underneath the little silver part right here in the back of the slide. Here we take, and it goes up under and pushes in like so. Now once it's depressed, you can just pretty much pull the slide up and it'll come right off. And then we just pull everything out. Okay. Now here we see the piston, and this is part of the soft coil system. Your recoil spring is very light, you can tell immediately. Here is where the piston rides, right into this hole. Of course, in the barrel right past the chamber, there is a small hole that goes down into this chamber. And what that does is when the gases go down into the chamber and fill up, it keeps, with the piston, it keeps the slide moving slowly. And that way, it moves slowly, and then the recoil spring doesn't have to be quite as heavy. to absorb the recoil, because your piston's absorbing a lot of that recoil. So that has a lot to do with the soft coil recoil system. And so it just makes it much easier, and it does keep it much flatter. In fact, Walther states it's a 30 to 33% reduction in muzzle rise, which is fantastic. Of course, we have the fixed barrel, which to me aids in accuracy as well. Very nice little system. Now, one of the things about the trigger, and I want to point this out, is that as we pull the trigger, you can see that right here it's activating these levers. And I think that is where the resistance is coming in, because if we go ahead and engage our safety, the trigger is super smooth. And of course, you're disengaging these levers right here. Once we pull it down, it re-engages them, and that's where the resistance is. I'm going to probably take this down and do some polishing to see if I can smooth that out. But over time, the more rounds you fire through this pistol, the smoother that this is going to get, whatever surfaces this is. In fact, I shot about 200 rounds, and it's getting more and more easy. The trigger's getting smoother. Disassembly is just return your recoil spring. A little tricky to get that piston in, so I bring it up, and then as you can see, we need to go into that small little hole right there, which it goes right in. Bring the slide just back to the rear here, and then again bring in your system, and it'll pop right down. So really, once you get the trick, it's not that difficult. It's just getting those tricks down. Comes with a good plastic box with the Walther logo. One thing about opening is you push the center and then pull the tabs. Otherwise, it's a little tricky. Nice closed foam padding. The egg crate up in the top. Extra magazine, bore brush. Of course, comes with the standard paperwork and a safety lock. We all know where this is going. Of course, the takedown tool, the 2 extra sights, and the various tools you need. Now, as far as price on these pistols, I found a number of places. Slick Guns was one, Bud's Gun Shop was another, running in the $370 to $390 range. Of course, many of your local gun shops, a lot of times, especially if you've been dealing with them a lot, will give you some good deals. And so that's one place to look. Plus, you're not paying transfer fees and things like that. But I think for under $400, this is an excellent option, especially with Walther quality. Walther's been around for a number of years. Extra magazines are running in the $30 range from what I've seen. So I think really the price option is excellent. You can go to waltherarms.com, and there's a ton of different things about this pistol. There's some pretty actually cool videos produced by Walther specifically addressing this pistol and the features, and also a video on the disassembly. Now, speaking of that, there are a couple of things that I love about this handgun. There are a couple of things that I don't like. The first thing about this pistol, to me, is the ergonomics. It is fantastic. It is excellent. There is really, to me, it's very difficult to achieve this kind of ergonomics, and Walther seems to be really good at it. So ergonomics to me is an exceptional part of what this pistol, the appeal to this pistol. The second thing, which is to me very important and really fits a market that's really growing, is especially for female shooters that have trouble pulling back the slide, or the elderly, or just those with weak hands. You know, this is such a smooth drawback, very easy. Really, pretty much anybody can do that. So I think that that is a huge appeal for this pistol. Because of the soft coil technology though, and what makes it so easy is it keeps the recoil down, the muzzle down. So this to me is an excellent pistol for first shooters, people that don't have a lot of experience with firearms and really don't have the hand strength to be able to draw it and to be able to pull that slide back if needed. So to me, that is a huge appeal of this pistol above many of the other pistols that are out on the market. Okay, a couple of things that I'm not really all that keen about. The first is the disassembly process. Now, it is what it is. And in fact, any of your blowback designs typically are going to have you know, some kind of thing you're going to have to push in here, and it's going to be a little difficult. Do I find that a deal breaker? No, I don't. I think it's just one of those things you have to get used to, and then once you do, it's fine. But that's just one of the things about this pistol. The second thing is the trigger. I'm not extremely happy with the trigger, but again, once I got out to the range, you know, it's not a deal breaker. It's a really fun trigger. In fact, I watched Hickok 45's review on it, And you know, he just talked about how much he liked the trigger. And so, you know, and then I thought, well, let me take a second look at this a little closer. It's definitely, you know, somewhat creepy. And then again, too, there is pretty much no reset. And, you know, as we're going to go ahead and just try that reset again, you know, you come in, it's pretty tough. And then when you bring it out, it's all the way to the end. I mean, and it's just almost not audible, but it is a little bit, but there's not really tactile either. You can't really hear it. So, you know, that's just one of the downsides. But again, I think those two things, even though they're different, I think for the advantages of this pistol and the design with the soft coil technology, with the ergonomics, I think that it balances out very well. So, you know, if you're really picky about certain issues, you know, there are a lot of other pistols out on the market. But I think that the Walther CCP is definitely one of those that is pretty state-of-the-art, and it's something I think that we're going to be seeing a lot more of, this technology coming. We've checked it out. Thumbs way up. Be strong, be of good courage. God bless America. Long live the Republic. Comes in a hard plastic box with the Walther. One of the things, of course, just you're going to notice immediately is the length of the slide. Well, so you think the Walther CCP makes me look more intelligent, or the tape on my glasses? Hasta la vista, baby.